I'll never forget the moment I walked into that dining room at El Jardin Legon and realized my worst fear had come true. My seat was missing, actually missing like I was some kind of ghost who didn't need a physical place to exist. Let me back up because this didn't start that evening. This started 3 years ago when I married Darnell Beaumont and moved from Atlanta to Paris thinking I was entering a fairy tale. Young and stupid, that was me. I thought love conquered everything. I thought if I just tried hard enough, smiled bright enough, bent low enough, his family would eventually accept me. I was wrong. That morning started like any other morning in our beautiful prison of an apartment. Darnell was already dressed in his expensive suit, scrolling through his phone while drinking espresso. I showed him the gift I'd bought for his mother, a vintage Hermes scarf I'd saved 3 months to afford. €3,000. Money from my own design business that Rel always called my little hobby. That's nice, Kenya. Mom will love it, Darnell said without even looking up from his screen. Nice, that's all he said. No appreciation for the sacrifice. No acknowledgement that I was trying, always trying to build bridges with his family while they kept burning them down behind my back. I should have known then, should have seen the warning signs flashing bright as Paris street lights. But I'd already picked out my dress. Already rehearsed my speech about family and belonging. Already convinced myself that tonight would be different. That maybe after 3 years of cold shoulders and accidental insults, Rel would finally see me as her daughter-in-law instead of the American woman who corrupted her precious son. I spent 2 hours getting ready. The burgundy dress, Darnell once said, made me look stunning back when he still noticed how I looked. Hair curled perfectly, makeup flawless. I practiced my smile in the mirror until it looked natural instead of desperate. Before I left, I texted Darnell, running 5 minutes late, save me a seat. He sent back a thumbs up emoji. Nothing else. Not can't wait to see you or you're going to look beautiful or any of the things he used to say back when we first fell in love. Just a thumbs up like I was a coworker confirming a meeting time. The taxi ride through Paris felt longer than usual. The driver kept trying to make small talk, but I was too nervous to focus. My hands wouldn't stop fidgeting with the gift bag. That scarf cost more than my rent back in Atlanta. But I wanted Rel to know I respected her, valued her, wanted to be part of this family, even though they made it clear every single day that I wasn't. Lear de Lyon is the kind of restaurant where they judge you before you walk through the door. All crystal chandeliers and gold trim and waiters who look at you like they're calculating your net worth. I'd only been there once before for Darnell's birthday 2 years ago when Rel made a speech thanking everyone in the family except me. She literally thanked the waiter and forgot I existed. The hostess's smile flickered when I gave her the Beaumont name just for a second. Then she recovered and said, "Oh yes, Madame Beaumont is already here with her party. Follow me, please." I followed her through the restaurant past tables of wealthy people eating tiny portions of expensive food. My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. I kept telling myself to breathe, to stay calm, to remember my speech. Then I walked into that private dining room and my entire world tilted sideways. The table was set for 11 people. 11. Beautiful play settings with gold trim plates and crystal wine glasses and fresh flowers. Name cards written in perfect calligraphy. Michelle sat at the head wearing a silver gown that probably costs more than my car. Marquis beside her, Tasha 3 seats down looking smug, Camille with her phone out already recording. And Darnell, my husband, sitting there comfortable and relaxed like nothing was wrong because for him nothing was wrong. I counted those chairs 3 times. My eyes moved from seat to seat, searching for my name, searching for any indication that I belonged there. And then I understood. This wasn't an accident, this wasn't a mistake. This was intentional. They didn't forget to get me a chair, they chose not to. I stood there frozen while everyone stared at me. 30 seconds of pure silence. Long enough for my face to flush hot with humiliation. Long enough for other diners outside the room to notice something was wrong. Long enough for me to see exactly what my life had become. Then Darnell, the man who promised to love and protect me, looked me dead in the eye and chuckled. Actually laughed, like this was funny, like my pain was entertainment. "Oops," he said with this stupid smile on his face. "Guess we miscounted." The entire family erupted in laughter. Real laughter, not nervous or awkward. They thought this was hilarious. Michelle hid her smile behind her wine glass. Tasha took a picture with her phone. Marquis actually slapped the table. Something inside me broke clean in half. Not my heart that had been breaking slowly for 3 years, something deeper, something that held me together and kept me small and quiet and acceptable. That thing shattered like glass. I looked at each person at that table, let them see my face. Let them see that I finally understood the game they'd been playing. Then I looked at Darnell and spoke in a voice so cold it silenced the entire room. I see. It seems I'm not family after all. I turned and walked out. Didn't run, didn't cry, just walked with my head high past the staring guests and confused hostess into the Paris evening air. My phone was already out. Marcel Fontaine's number pulled up before I even reached the sidewalk. He answered on the second ring, voice cheerful. Madame Rousseau, is everything perfect at the party? My hand was steady as stone. My voice didn't shake at all. Marcel, I need you to cancel everything right now. The entire event. Venue booking, catering, wine service, birthday cake, music, everything. I authorized the deposits. I can cancel it all. Stunned silence. Then his shocked voice, but madame, the family is eating right now. The main course is about to be served. I cut him off sharp as a knife. I said, cancel it now. I hung up and started walking. Behind me, my phone started vibrating with calls I didn't answer. Somewhere in that restaurant, my words were becoming reality. And for the first time in 3 years, I felt something other than invisible. I felt powerful. Inside that private dining room, the Beaumont family had already forgotten I existed. They always did. That erased me the moment I left a room, like I was drawn in pencil instead of permanent ink. Rel was holding court, telling some story about her trip to Monaco, waving her hands dramatically while everyone laughed on cue like trained seals. The waiters brought out the appetizers. Fresh oysters on ice beds, caviar with gold spoons, champagne in bottles that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Tasha was taking photos for her social media, angling for the perfect shot to show off the Beaumont wealth. Darnell had relaxed completely into his chair, laughing at his mother's jokes, probably relieved I was gone so he didn't have to pretend to care about my feelings anymore. Nobody mentioned my name. Nobody said maybe we should apologize or that was too far or anything resembling human decency. They just moved on like I never existed in the first place. Then Marcel Fontaine walked into the room and his face was the color of old newspaper. I wish I could have seen it. I was 3 blocks away by then, but I can imagine it perfectly. The way everyone's conversation stopped mid-sentence. The way Rel's champagne glass froze halfway to her lips. The way confusion flickered across their faces before the panic set in. Monsieur Beaumont, Marcel said. And I know his voice was shaking because Marcel never got nervous. He'd coordinated events for French presidents and movie stars, but right then he was terrified. I'm afraid there's been a situation. Rel's tone would have been sharp as broken glass. What kind of situation? The event has been cancelled, all of it. The venue booking, the catering service, the wine, the cake, everything. You need to leave immediately. The table must have exploded. I heard later from a waitress. I knew that Tasha actually screamed, that Marquis stood up so fast his chair fell backward, that Darnell's face went from confused to angry in 2 seconds flat. But Rel's expression was apparently the most interesting. Her eyes went narrow and cold. This is impossible, she hissed. We booked this months ago, we have a contract, you cannot cancel a party that is currently happening. Marcel's voice would have been barely above a whisper. Madame, I don't make these decisions. The person who authorized the deposits has requested full cancellation. That person is Madame Kenya Russo. The silence after he said my name must have been deafening. Then chaos. Everyone talking at once, Tasha shrieking. Kenya did what? Marquis demanding managers and lawyers. Darnell pulling out his phone with shaking hands. And finally seeing all my missed calls, all my unread messages, all the evidence that I'd been trying to reach him while he ignored me for his family. But Rel sat perfectly still because Rel knew something the others didn't. She knew who paid for this party. 3 months ago she'd complained to me about restaurant prices. It's criminal what they charge for a simple family dinner. And stupid me, still trying to buy my way into her heart, offered to help. Let me handle the deposits. Consider it part of your gift. She'd accepted without even saying thank you. Treated it like I owed her. Like paying for her birthday party was my duty as the outsider trying to prove I deserved to exist in their world, now that generosity was burning their lives down. Marcel explained they had 10 minutes to leave, Other guests had reservations. The kitchen was shutting down service for their table. This was happening whether they liked it or not. Darnell was frantically calling me, but I'd already turned my phone off. I was in a taxi heading toward our apartment. My mind calm and clear for the first time in years. Behind me, my husband was shouting, "This is insane. She can't just destroy my mother's birthday over a chair." But it wasn't about a chair, it was never about a chair. It was about 3 years of being treated like furniture myself. Useful when needed, ignored the rest of the time, easily replaced. The waitress told me later that Tasha started crying. This is so embarrassing. Everyone is staring at us, and they were. Other diners had their phones out. Videos were being recorded. The Beaumont family, so proud of their dignity and reputation, being escorted out to the fanciest restaurant in Paris. Like common troublemakers, Michelle stood up with stiff movements, trying to salvage some pride. "We're leaving with dignity. We will not let that woman see us panic." But her voice shook when she said dignity, because there was no dignity in this moment. There was only consequence. They gathered their things while other guests whispered and pointed. The birthday gift sat unopened on a side table. Probably thousands of euros worth of presents Rel would never get to open in her moment of glory. And the cake, the 5-tier masterpiece I'd ordered with gold leaf and fresh roses that costs more than most people's wedding cakes, was being wheeled back to the kitchen, never to be seen. As they walked through the restaurant, Tasha's tears got louder. How could she do this to us? Nobody answered her because they all knew the answer. They'd spent 3 years teaching me exactly how to do this to them. They spilled onto the Paris street. 11 Beaumonts looking lost and humiliated under the street lights. Darnell finally got through to my voicemail and his voice was shaking with rage. "Kenya, what the hell have you done? You've embarrassed my entire family. Call me back now." He hung up and turned to his mother, whose face had gone beyond white. It looked translucent like paper held up to light. And that's when Rel said the words that made everyone's blood turn to ice. "The apartment. She has access to the apartment." The realization hit them all at once. I'd been gone 30 minutes. 30 minutes alone with keys and codes and security access. 30 minutes with nothing but rage and a lifetime of disrespect to fuel me. Darnell started running toward his car. The others scrambled after him like rats fleeing a sinking ship. Behind them, my taxi pulled away from the restaurant and I watched through the rear window as they panicked. My face was completely calm. My hand was already dialing another number, the moving company I'd hired 2 weeks ago. When I finally accepted that this marriage was dead, they thought tonight was about revenge. They had no idea it was about freedom. Darnell's hands were shaking so badly he dropped his car keys twice before getting the door unlocked. I know because the building security camera caught everything and my lawyer made sure I got a copy. The family crowded around him like drowning people fighting for a life raft. Rel gripping her designer purse like it was a weapon. Marquis breathing so hard he looked ready to collapse. Tasha crying into her phone. Camille still recording everything because that girl documented her entire life like she was filming a reality show. "Drive faster." Rel commanded from the passenger seat as Darnell sped through Paris streets, running at least 2 red lights from what I heard later. The apartment was 20 minutes away. 20 minutes for me to do whatever I was planning, except I wasn't there anymore. I'd finished my work in 15 minutes and left before they even got their coats on at the restaurant. She wouldn't dare. Marquis kept repeating like a prayer, but nobody believed him. They'd all seen my face. They'd all heard that cold, calm voice. They knew the quiet Kenya who swallowed insults for 3 years was gone, and someone new had taken her place. They screeched to a stop outside the building so hard the tires made that movie sound screech. The doorman tried to warn them. "Miss Hubont, your wife left about 10 minutes ago with several suitcases." But Darnell was already running past him, jabbing the elevator button like it would make the machine move faster. The elevator rose slowly, painfully. 5 floors feel like 50 when you're panicking. Rel's breathing was rapid and shallow. "If she's damaged anything, I will have her arrested," she hissed. Empty threats from a woman who was just beginning to understand she had no power here. The doors opened. They rushed down the hallway. Darnell's hands shook so badly he could barely get the key in the lock. Then he pushed the door open and they all froze completely. The apartment wasn't destroyed, that's what they were expecting. Broken furniture, shattered glass, spray paint on the walls, some dramatic scene of destruction. But what I'd done was so much worse than destruction. I'd erased myself. All the Beaumont family furniture was still there, untouched. The antique sofa from Rel's dead mother. The dining table from Mary's childhood home. Ugly paintings of dead Beaumont ancestors that I'd always hated. Everything that screamed old French money remained exactly where it had always been. But everything that made that apartment a home instead of a museum was gone. The colourful throw pillows I'd designed gone. The photographs from our wedding trip to Bali where Darnell actually smiled at me like he loved me removed from the walls, leaving bright squares on faded paint. In the kitchen, empty spaces showed where my cookware used to hang. The pots and pans I used to make soul food that Rel refused to taste because French cuisine is superior to American comfort food. The spice rack I built myself because French stores didn't carry the seasonings I grew up with vanished. In our bedroom, half the closet was empty. My side of the bathroom counter was cleared completely. No makeup, no skincare products, no hairbrush. I'd taken everything personal, everything mine, and left behind only the cold Beaumont legacy that had tried to suffocate me for 3 years. Tasha found the envelope first on the kitchen counter where I used to leave loving notes for Darnell back when I still believed love mattered to him. Expensive paper. My handwriting, his name in perfect cursive. His hands shook as he opened it. I'd written that letter 3 days ago, edited it twice, cried over it once, then sealed it with complete certainty. When he read it out loud, his voice broke on every other word. Darnell, for 3 years I tried to earn a place in your family. I smiled through comments about my background, I ignored the jokes about American women, I learned French, I studied French culture, I attended every Beaumont event with grace, and tonight you couldn't even save me a chair. You laughed when I was humiliated, so here's what happens next. I'm leaving Paris, I'm leaving this apartment, I'm leaving this marriage. The deposit money I used for your mother's party, that was the last dollar you'll ever see from me. Consider it payment for tonight's lesson. You've taught me that I was never family. I was always just the outsider you kept around until it was convenient to discard me. I won't be discarded anymore. The papers will be sent to your lawyer next week. Don't call me, don't look for me. We're done, Kenya. The letter fell from his hands like a dead leaf. Rel snatched it up, reading it again, her face cycling through shock to rage to something else. Fear, real fear. This is ridiculous, she said, but her voice was weak as water. She's being dramatic. She'll come back, but Tasha was going through the apartment, opening drawers and checking closets, and her voice got higher with each discovery. Her passport is gone, her laptop, her design portfolio, all her client files. She didn't just leave for the night, she left. Darnell collapsed onto the antique sofa, his head in his hands. For the first time, reality was crushing him. I wasn't bluffing. This wasn't a fight to recover from with flowers and apologies. His mother was talking about lawyers and consequences, but he couldn't hear her. All he could hear was his own voice from 2 hours ago, laughing and saying, "Oops, guess we miscounted." He thought it was funny. He'd actually thought humiliating his wife was entertainment. Marquis walked to the window looking out at the Paris skyline and asked the question that changed everything. How much money has she taken from the joint account? The question froze everyone mid-breath. Darnell pulled out his phone with trembling hands and opened his banking app. His face went from pale to green to completely grey. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no, no." Rel grabbed his phone and looked at the screen. The joint account that had €80,000 that morning, money from his salary, his bonuses, his investments, now showed exactly 0 and 0. Below that, one transaction from 4 hours ago, complete withdrawal, account holder Kenya Rousseau, and below that transaction, a note in the memo line that made Rel's hands start trembling. Payment for 3 years of disrespect. We're even now somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean. I was sleeping peacefully on my flight to Atlanta, dreaming of mornings where I'd never feel invisible again. The silence in that apartment was so thick you could choke on it. Then Michelle's voice cut through like a knife scraping glass. "Get it back, call the bank, call the police, that's owe money." But Darnell was already on the phone with his bank, and I wish I could have seen his face crumble as they explained reality to him. "What do you mean it was legal? It was a joint account. She took everything." The banker's voice was patient but firm through the speaker. "Patient the way you talk to a child who doesn't understand how the world works. Monsieur Beaumont, Madame Rousseau is an authorized account holder. She has every legal right to withdraw funds. There's no fraud, no theft. The account was in both your names. Darnell hung up and looked at his mother with empty eyes. It's gone, all of it, over the next hour while I was somewhere over the ocean, sleeping better than I had in 3 years. The Beaumont family tore through that apartment looking for answers. What they found was evidence of just how carefully I'd planned my escape. This wasn't some emotional breakdown. This wasn't me waking up that morning and deciding to burn everything down. I'd been planning this for 2 weeks, ever since Rel sent out the birthday party invitations and accidentally forgot to mail mine. Darnell brought his copy home and didn't even notice my name wasn't on it. That's when I knew. That's when I started preparing. Tasha found my home office completely cleaned out. Not just empty, professionally cleaned. The desk was bare. The filing cabinets were gone. Even the small safe where I kept my jewelry and important documents had been removed from the wall, leaving just a square hole and loose wires dangling like broken veins. She took the actual safe, Tasha shouted. Who does that? Someone who's dumb being robbed, that's who. Someone who learned that the Beaumonts took and took and took until there was nothing left. So she made sure to leave with everything that belonged to her. Camille discovered something that made her go quiet. She was scrolling through old photos on her phone, pictures from previous Beaumont family events. And now looking at them with new eyes, she saw the pattern. In every single photo, I was positioned slightly outside the group. In last year's Christmas photo, everyone was centered together, and I was on the far edge, half cut off like someone cropped me out. In Mary's retirement party photo, I was in the background, blurry and out of focus, while the family posed sharp and clear in front. Oh my God, Camille whispered. We've been doing this for years. We didn't even realize. Realize what? Rel snapped. That we've been erasing her this whole time. While his family argued, Darnell sat on the bedroom floor surrounded by empty hangers in the closet. He was scrolling through 3 years of text messages with me and reading them now. Really reading them for the first time. He saw patterns he'd been blind to before. Messages where I asked if he'd defend me when his mother made cutting comments and he responded, "Don't be so sensitive." Times I told him I felt excluded and he said, "You're imagining things." Moments I reached out for support and he chose his family's comfort over mine. Every single time for 3 years. There was one message from 6 months ago that stopped his breathing. Darnell, I need to know. Am I your wife or am I just the woman who lives in your apartment? Because your family treats me like I'm temporary and you never correct them. Please tell me I'm not crazy for feeling invisible. He'd responded 2 hours later with, "You're being dramatic, they're just traditional. Give them time." I never brought it up again. I just started planning my exit. While Darnell drowned in private guilt, Rel was on the phone with her lawyer, her voice getting shriller with each passing minute. I don't care if it's legal. She manipulated my son, she stole from our family. Find something, anything we can use against her. But the lawyer's responses kept deflating her like a balloon losing air. The money was legally mine to take. The party deposits were in my name. I'd violated no laws. The only thing Rel could do was wait for divorce papers and hope to protect Beaumont assets during proceedings. This is humiliating, Rel shouted, throwing her phone onto the sofa. Everyone saw us thrown out of that restaurant. By tomorrow, this will be all over Paris. The Beaumont family's centuries of dignity and reputation destroyed by some American girl with an attitude. Marquis, who'd been sitting quietly in the corner, finally spoke. His voice was tired, sad. No, Rel, we destroyed ourselves, she just made sure we saw it. Tasha's phone started exploding with notifications. The restaurant incident had hit social media. Someone recorded them being escorted out and posted it with the caption, "Beaumont family party cancelled mid-celebration, drama in Paris." The video already had 12,000 views. The comments were ruthless. Imagine treating your daughter-in-law so badly she cancels your birthday party mid-party. That's legendary. The Beaumonts have always been snobs. This woman is a hero. I looked up her design portfolio. Her work is incredible. They didn't deserve her. Someone found my website. Another person shared stories about the Beaumont family's reputation for looking down on anyone who wasn't born into French wealth. The internet was turning me into a folk hero while painting them as villains. Tasha was crying again, scrolling through comments. This is going to follow us forever. Camille showed Darnell the posts. His face was completely blank. Then quietly, she deserves better than this. Rel spun on him so fast she almost lost her balance. Don't you dare take her side. After what she did to this family. Darnell stood up slowly. When he spoke, his voice was raw with pain. What she did. Mom, we left her without a chair at your birthday dinner. We laughed at her. I laughed at my own wife being humiliated. And you want me to be angry that she fought back? His voice cracked like breaking glass. She's gone and it's my fault. The apartment fell completely silent. Then Darnell's phone rang a number he didn't recognize. He answered, desperate, hopping. Kenya, but it wasn't me. It was a woman with a cold, professional voice. M. Submore. This is Delocqua Law Firm calling on behalf of our client, Madame Kenya Russo. We're handling her divorce proceedings. You'll be served papers within 48 hours. Before Darnell could respond, the lawyer continued. Additionally, Madame Russo wanted me to inform you that she's filing a full accounting request for all Beaumont family assets acquired during your marriage. Any properties, vehicles, or investments purchased with joint funds will be subject to division. Michelle heard this through the phone speaker, and her face went completely white. The lawyer wasn't finished. Finally, Madame Russo is prepared to provide testimony and documentation regarding patterns of emotional mistreatment and family harassment throughout the marriage. She has kept records, texts, emails, voice recordings, 3 years of evidence. We'll be in touch. The line went dead. Mari stood slowly and looked at his son with something like pity. You broke the wrong woman, Darnell. She wasn't weak. She was patient, and now her patience has run out. The divorce papers arrived exactly 48 hours later, delivered by a courier who made Darnell sign for them 3 times. Like he was accepting responsibility with each signature. The document was 73 pages long. Rel insisted on reading every word with the family lawyer present, and what they discovered made her pour herself a glass of wine at 10:00 in the morning, something she'd never done in her entire proper French life. I didn't just keep records. I kept a complete archive of my own destruction. Every text message where Darnell dismissed my feelings, printed and highlighted in yellow. Every email where Rel accidentally left me off. Family event invitations documented with dates and timestamps. Voice recordings from family dinners, where Tasha made comments about American women having no class while Darnell sat silent letting it happen. Even videos, including one from last Christmas where Marquis made a toast to the real Beaumont family, while I sat at that table, visibly excluded from his raised glass, my face showing exactly how much that hurt. The lawyer's face was grim as he flipped through page after page of evidence. This is substantial proof of emotional neglect and family harassment. In French courts, this could impact asset division significantly. Rel's hands shook around her wine glass. How much could she get? The lawyer didn't sugarcoat it. If she proves a pattern of mistreatment enabled by the family, and given that M. Subont failed to protect his spouse, she could claim up to half of everything acquired during the marriage. The apartment might be considered joint property since you both lived there. The car, the vacation home in nice business investments, Darnell interrupted, his voice completely hollow. The nice house was my grandmother's, the lawyer nodded slowly, but renovations made during your marriage using joint funds could make portions of its value divisible. Rel actually gasped like someone punched her in the stomach while the Beaumonts panicked privately. My story had taken on a life beyond anything I'd imagined. That restaurant video went viral. 3 million views in 48 hours. News outlets picked it up. American woman cancels mother-in-law's birthday party after being left without seat. The comment section was overwhelmingly on my side. People were calling me a hero. Someone started a hashtag chairless in Paris. My interior design business, which Rel always dismissed as my cute little hobby, suddenly had a waiting list of 200 clients. Women from around the world were reaching out, sharing their own stories of family exclusion and finding inspiration in my choice to walk away with my dignity intact. A New York publisher emailed asking if I'd be interested in writing a book about setting boundaries with difficult in-laws. Tasha found all of this online and showed her family with shaking hands. She's being treated like a hero. People are saying she's brave. One article called her an icon. Camille, who'd been quiet since that night, said softly, "Maybe she is." Rel's head snapped toward her. What? Camille met her aunt's eyes without flinching for the first time in her life. We treated her terribly. For years, we all knew it, and we did it anyway because it was easier than standing up to you. The words hung in the air like smoke after an explosion. While his family fought, Darnell spent 2 days rereading every message, every email, every moment of our marriage. He saw it now. How he chose silence over support, how he let his mother's disapproval poison our love, how he stopped defending me because defending meant confronting his family, and confronting his family was uncomfortable. So he took the easy path, and I suffered for it until I couldn't anymore. He tried calling me one last time. The number was disconnected. He emailed. It bounced back. He reached out to my friends in Atlanta. They wouldn't tell him anything except she's safe. She's healing and she doesn't want to hear from you. 2 weeks later, my lawyers presented their settlement offer. I wanted 40% of the joint assets, less than I could legally fight for. I wanted the money from the joint account that I'd already taken to be counted toward that total. And I wanted one thing more, a written letter of apology from Michelle Beaumont, acknowledging the years of mistreatment, to be filed with the court documents. Rel refused immediately. I will not apologize to that woman. She humiliated our family, but the lawyer was brutally honest. Madame Beaumont, if this goes to court, the judge will see all the evidence, the videos, the recordings, the pattern of exclusion. Your family's treatment of Madame Rousseau will be publicly examined. Every dinner where she was insulted, every event where she was pushed aside, it will be in French newspapers. Your reputation will suffer far more than it already has. Marquis stood up, and when he spoke his voice had an edge nobody had ever heard before. Write the letter, Rel, write it. Sign it and let this woman move on with her life. 1 month after that night in Paris, the divorce was finalized. I got my settlement. Rel wrote a 2-paragraph apology that her lawyer had to revise 6 times because she kept making it sound like I was at fault. Darnell signed the papers alone in that empty apartment, surrounded by furniture that never felt like home. The Beaumont family reputation recovered slowly. Rel canceled most of her social events for 6 months, hiding from the shame. Tasha deleted her social media accounts and moved to London to escape the comments. Camille started seeing a therapist and had difficult conversations about family patterns. Marquis and Rel attended marriage counseling after he admitted he'd been unhappy for years, staying silent just like Darnell did. Back in Atlanta, I opened a new design studio in a renovated warehouse space. The walls were covered with my work, colorful, bold, unapologetically mine. I hired a team of young designers who reminded me of myself, talented people who were told they didn't belong in fancy spaces. I taught them that they belong everywhere they choose to be. One afternoon, 6 months after leaving Paris, I got an email from Darnell. Subject line: I finally understand. I hovered over it for a long moment, then deleted it without reading. Some chapters need to stay closed. On a sunny Saturday morning, I sat in my studio with coffee, reviewing design proposals. My phone rang. A new client wanting to hire me for a Manhattan project. As I took notes, I glanced at the wall where I'd hung a small reminder, a photo of that empty chair from the Paris restaurant, printed from Camille's viral video. I kept it there not as a wound, but as a reminder that my worth was never determined by who made space for me at their table. I learned to build my own table, and now the chairs around it were filled with people who saw me, valued me, and celebrated me, not despite who I was, but because of it. The Beaumonts taught me a painful lesson that night in Paris, but I taught them something far more powerful, that the woman they underestimated, dismissed, and laughed at was strong enough to walk away from everything and build something better. I didn't just survive their cruelty, I transformed it into freedom. And in the end, that empty chair became the best gift they ever gave me because it forced me to finally stand up. I never returned to Paris, I never looked back, and I never ever felt invisible.